Hey Pete, you get game one last night, take the lead. It's always significant to take a 1-0 lead in a series, but do you think as the playoffs get deeper, does it carry more weight to get that 1-0 lead?
That's a good question. I can only speak for our team. I think it does. I think when you look at the fact we've only had a 1-0 lead once in the last 8 or 9 series, and that was against Winnipeg. The importance of that, but also the importance of winning that first game at home, which we haven't done. The Winnipeg one was on the road, so I think we needed to kind of cross that hurdle at some point if we're going to keep advancing. So it's nice for our group to have done that and be in the spot we're in.
Right side, fourth row.
Pete, sort of a two-parter here. One, why are you guys so good on the power play at home especially? And two, how critical is that to trim those deficits in a short period of time when those opportunities present themselves?
Yeah. Well, I think special teams are critical in the playoffs, as we saw. I mean, we can, it might be oversimplifying it, but, Edmonton beat us out last year because their special teams were better than ours this time of year. So I think, we've advanced through the first 2 rounds. We've won the special teams battle in those 2 rounds. So it's a really important part. It's not everything, but it's a really important part. And, when you're feeling good about those parts of your game, you're never out of a game. Like we saw last night. So that's a good feeling to have as a team.
Left side, fourth row, Ryan.
Right.
Hey, Pete. Of course, we've all talked about the Finns and the impact that they've had, but when you put them together, all 5 of them, what are those 5 able to do that maybe gives you an extra dimension, but also has it maybe surprised you sort of how quickly it's all worked? Because it's not like they've spent a whole year together. It's kind of come together pretty quickly.
Yeah, a little surprised, but you know what? They're all veteran guys. They obviously all speak the same language. They grew up in the same systems, and they played together at really high levels: World Championships, Olympics, World Juniors. What I like about them is they understand winning hockey. They understand how to create offense without with removing the risk from the game, and that's how you win, gold medals internationally. It's also how you win in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So those guys have a high skill level, but they don't cheat or force offense. They let it come to them, and they make good decisions with the puck, winning hockey decisions with the puck. When it's not there, they don't force it, and that's what everybody's looking for out of their skill guys this time of year.
Left side, second row, Robert.
Pete, to start the third period, you have a power play or some of a power play left. I'm sure it's tempting when you have Mikko Rantanen out there to always put him out there, but you went with the second unit, and obviously Miro gets that goal. What went into that decision to put that group out there?
Yeah, well, you know what, that was, I think, Steve Spott and our coaching staff, because obviously everyone has an opinion on that. I think, one of the things we've done a good job is we've been, I don't want to say fearless, but, fearless in making hard decisions, at those times. I mean, our second power play unit was lights out against Winnipeg, won us a game against Winnipeg. So, you can't, I think this is the time of year where you've got to make tough decisions, not necessarily just go to the guys who everyone thinks you're supposed to go to. And, that unit deserved to be out there based on their body of work. But you're right, it's not an easy call to make to have the guys sitting on the bench watching. Because it's not like you guys to second guess that if we didn't score, right?
Right side, third row, Sean.
Not sure there's a point looking back on it, but the way that you guys struggled towards the end of the season, is there anything about that particular stretch of hockey that challenged this team that has served you well?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think I think it was important for every group's different. You know, so there's some groups that you want to roll into the playoffs playing great, feeling good about yourself. They need that. You know, I think our group needed a little bit of a shock to the system at that point. You know, of the year, we had a new group. You know, we were kind of solidified in our playoff spot. You know, we had a gauntlet, obviously, of opponents on the docket, you know, knowing you would have to go through Colorado already in the first round and then probably get Winnipeg in the second and then Vegas or Edmonton in the third. So, you know, I think, you know, we needed a little bit of a wake-up call late in the season, I think, to our entire group, of that shock of, you know, hey, we better have our details in place if we want to survive this. And so every group's different. Some groups maybe would have wilted under that. Some groups, you know, don't need that type of shock. I think our group did. I think we were a little bit too comfortable in where we were and you know how things were going for us.
We'll take a couple more. Left side, third row.
Hey, Pete, at the end of that game, you have 20-year veteran Corey Perry and 21-year-old Liam Bichel going at it. What's it like seeing that? And even more so, how impressed are you that he just doesn't seem to back down from anybody?
Yeah. Well, I think that's why we've been able to play him, you know, and he's been a factor in the playoffs so far. Is he's got a recklessness to his game. You know, he's not looking at numbers. I'm not even sure he knows, you know, how old Corey Perry is. So, you know, he's not picking his spots, and I think that physicality has been a really important part of why we're still sitting here today.
Right side, front row, Mike.
Hey, Pete. Matt Duchene lets us into his brain a lot. You know, even I think he does for you guys too. What has that process been like in the playoffs these last 2 years? Because he doesn't have that history, and he tells us about it. And just he's even growing at 34 still.
Yeah, I think that's all part of maturing as a player. You know, you take for granted that a second overall pick in the draft that's played in the league for 14 years has deep playoff experience, and you know he doesn't, and he's not alone in that. So I think you know it's really important that those guys have an open mind and an understanding of what it takes to win the deeper you go here. And it's great that he's still learning, and you know he's not stubborn enough to feel like he knows it, even though he hasn't lived it yet, or has only lived it one time. You know, he's been open to accepting he's got to do some things differently in order to contribute.
Right side, fourth row.
Sort of a bigger picture question here for you. When you came here as a visitor in your coaching career, compared to now being the coach of this team for the last handful of years, are you surprised at the atmosphere at games and the passion Stars fans have for this team? Because maybe from the outside, you were not fully aware of just how much love there is for this team in the middle of Texas, in the middle of football country that exists.
Yeah. You know, it's a great question. I think what I always recognized was the energy at American Airlines, even from the opposing bench, regardless of whether it was a mid-season game in November. You know, you came into American Airlines, there was always an energy to the building and the crowd. And I always felt that even from the other bench. I don't think what I did appreciate was, you know, how widespread the love and affection for the Dallas Stars is in the state of Texas and the city of Dallas. I mean, other outside of the 20,000 people that are in that rink. I mean, it's everywhere. Everywhere you go, people are talking about the team, and I don't think I realized that. I think I kind of took for granted that it was a Cowboys, Mavericks town. But I don't think that's the case. I think the stars are right there.
Two more left side front row, Leah.
Hey, Leo.
You mentioned the shock to the system at the end of the regular season. Is this a group that just thrives under pressure in those situations? Because it feels like when you've needed a response game or a response period, you've gotten it.
Yeah, we have, and you're right, and you're exactly right. It's not an easy group to coach that way because why do we waiting to do this in order to respond? But they've stepped up and responded every time we've been in that spot, and their resiliency as a group, is probably the most admirable thing that I have about them.
Last one, right side second row, Mark.
Pete, we talk a lot about the job Jim Mill has done building this team. How collaborative is that? How involved are you in that? And like how the Rantanen trade? Do you have a voice in things like that?
Yeah. You know what? I'm involved, but I mean, if you're bringing up does he need Pete DeBoer to tell him Rantanen's a good player? No. Actually, I think you guys could do that for him, right? So listen, he involves me in every piece of it. Am I heavily involved in the assets going each way and the value and the contracts and things like that? No, and I don't want to be. Where our conversations are more in depth are, what do we need in order to take the next step to win, to beat Colorado, to beat Winnipeg, to advance to a Stanley Cup final, to win a Stanley Cup, and the generalities of that, and then him and his group dial in on that.